Okay, so Alton, when you get a moment, you, I guess, usher Rue into the medical cabin.
Yeah, so this is something that everyone else in the crew has experienced as well. Alton will go through a medical appointment. He probably looks a bit more reluctant with Rue, but he's like, oh, I'm being professional. Right, Rue, yes, so what I generally do, with anyone who's on board for any significant amount of time, is I have just a little medical appointment just to see if there's any ongoing issues, anything that I can help with or that I need to know about, allergies and the like as well. Got to be able to feed you the right thing. Although he kind of looks Rue over and is a bit like, not sure about that one. You all good for a medical appointment? Is that okay?
And Rue sort of tried to sort of very deliberately arrange his limbs sort of in a very prim and proper, I guess, way. Just seems to be observing Alton. Not under intense scrutiny, although it might feel like it to someone like Alton. Of course, I consent to this. That makes a lot of sense. It is good to know what everyone on board requires for treatment.
Yeah, of course. I mean, you're a medical person yourself. So, how do you identify? Which pronouns should I use?
Oh, and Rue kind of just nods and then tilts their head to one side slightly. My favorite titles are he and they. Typically, nurses and doctors on Acheron preferred those, and as I'm a medic, they are also mine to provide comfort. I don't have any particular interest in any, but those feel right, I suppose, and I'm working on being more comforting. But he and they, what are yours?
Certainly, I use he and myself. So, usually I'd check your vitals and ask you about any health problems, but you might be a special case. I need to ask. Hopefully this isn't indelicate.
Yes.
Is any of your body organic?
The light behind their eyes dims for a little bit. He sort of sort of looks to one side. Investigation and experimentation thus has proved no, nothing organic.
I see. That creates a challenge. Right then, do you know any of do you display any vital signs that you've discovered yourself?
Oh yes, vital signs. So not in the same way that more organic forms appear to. I do have a pulse in a way. I don't appear to be powered by the flow of blood or the pumping or the beating of a heart, although I have a heart of sorts. I have a core. I have not undertaken a great deal of experimentation, although I know there were some for a time that wished to do so. Have you heard of animancy? It is a sort of magic that was baked into the isles where I washed ashore upon. My mentor, 𝗖𝗔𝗦𝗧, believes that I am comprised of it. Rue's kind of hands sort of glide a little bit across his chest, and Alton could probably see more clearly now the black sort of heavy plated metal, which looked a little bit like armor, is clearly just plating. These bright seams that sort of run up across his chest match the brightness of his eyes. You can probably notice to some point there's some degree of slight pulsing through those seams, I suppose. We believe there's a crystal that perhaps encapsulates it. But it is animancy that gives me life, I suppose.
Fascinating. Do you have any idea of who, I suppose, created you?
I don't have memory of that. If I think on that too strongly, it's like the other memories, and I can't talk upon it. There are many things that I cannot remember. I was on the island for 18 years. And now I have left, but... And then Rue stretches one hand out, his right hand, which again is the long sort of leather-clad claw stuff, and then not directly at Alton, but to the one side, sort of moves his wrist, and then arm blade kind of just juts out, longer than anywhere it could be concealed, just to show Alton. And they're the words... Rue Thursday etched into it.
Interesting.
And then they just sort of tilt their head to one side, and then with their other hand, their right hand, they move a little bit of the
sort of like apron and like the little like capelet aside, just a little bit where like the seams of light sort of hit obscured, and you get a little peek of like just like attempts at welding, some scratches, or like there's some sort of like tampering in like different sorts of shapes that lead more into where the light is growing brighter, which is obscured more by the clothes that he's wearing.
My mentor is it, and I myself, from studies I have observed of myself and the things that I cannot recall, we believe that I have been reawoken 5 times at least by now.
This, and he moves the hand with the arm a little bit,
does not appear to match up with some other parts of me. It appears to be newer. And some of these marks, there is more closer to my core. Imply that other modification have been made or repairs. How, I am not certain. You appear to have familiarity with machinery.
Yeah, definitely. Grew up in a factory.
A factory?
Yeah, weapons making factory, so I know a thing or two. Interesting.
Did you see anything like me there?
Not exactly, no. Weren't really about making automatons or anything. Nice little arm blade, though.
Yes.
Magic mixtures. Innovative.
It appears to be a conduit of some sort, although I myself perhaps am one. Sometimes the pulses of magic are stronger. I don't understand it much myself. Perhaps I did once, but I can't.
Do you recall anything from before you went to the island, or?
I do not. I reawoke here on the island perhaps 15 years ago. 2 years prior to that, I simply washed ashore, but I could not speak, and I was not entirely conscious. But the magic appears to have always been there, at least that's what 𝗖𝗔𝗦𝗧 said. And those are the observations I have made in a purely scientific manner, of course. Did you hear from where you were about 15 years ago? There were rifts opened up around the earth, around the world. A god, apparently.
Alton just kind of like tenses up and is like, yep, definitely remember that.
Were you also under attack?
There was a few attacks nearby.
I am sorry to hear it. Do you want to talk about it?
I'm good.
I will assume by the eye roll you are good. Yes, we will not probe further then. But yes, you know of what I speak then. Apparently when a rift opened up, a great deal of creatures spilled out and attacked Akarin. And then I awoke. I had been dormant for 2 years, and then I awoke. Turns out I'm very handy with a blade, and more importantly, I could heal what cannot be quickly mended and subdue pain faster than any medicine. So I suppose something good came out of that. We protected the island, and then some people stopped the gods, so that's where that story ended.
Right, so
15 years ago.
So your powers mightily came when the planes were all rendered open. Listen, if you're involved in anything, you know, any higher beings are gifting you powers and commanding you about everywhere, leave us out of it, thank you. Don't inflict your magic on everyone here, right?
I will not. I'm very careful with my magic now. And I don't get told what to do with it, so if that's a concern, there is no god speaking through me. Not that I know of, anyway.
Good. I hope not. invisibly kind of like tries to relax himself.
I suppose, return back to the previous subject. I do not think I have any particular dietary requirements. I don't need to eat or drink. I can feel the texture sometimes, I suppose, but it doesn't seem to fuel me. Perhaps my own core is what sustains me.
I see. Well, I guess that makes up for Ham.
Oh yes, Ham eats a lot. Ham will eat anything, actually. But don't worry, I've told him to be very good. If he causes any trouble, let me know. I will stop him, perhaps.
He just kind of just looks like tired, thinking. I think Kara has been very annoyed about him as well.
My apologies, this appears to be less enlightening and more exhausting. May I ask a question of you, Mr. Alton?
Certainly.
Do you have any pre-existing conditions that I should assist with? I'm of course a good listening ear.
If you're trying to be a medical doctor to me, believe me, I have tried. Not currently looking for treatment. It doesn't seem to exist. I have a number of chronic conditions. Chronic fatigue, migraines, organ injuries from the past, just chronic conditions.
I am sorry to hear that. There were others on the island who also had similar persistent issues that could not be healed so easily by magic or otherwise.
Yes, that's right. I've found lots of people. It tends to be like post-infection or virus or something, or just simply a huge stressor on the body, and magic doesn't help. The clerics don't care to try. I'm going to still keep looking into it, though, but we haven't found much headway yet.
Do you think if clerics tried more, there might be some more research that could be done?
I mean, maybe magic can help, but then what are they going to do? Cure what? 3 people a day? It's not efficient. No. What we need is the medics and science to try to figure it out a bit more. We can discover what is going on and find a way to treat people with chronic ailments.
That makes sense. My mentor was not a medic himself, but good at magical healing. And his theory was that understanding the scientific way to take apart or put back together a body would enhance how magic could be performed.
Yes, of course. Sounds like a wise man. Too many people don't believe in this. Just go wave their magic around willy-nilly, and then only the wealthy or the lucky can actually get healed. But anyway, let us finish your appointment. Right.
Yes.
So, if you are injured, do we need to recreate your limbs?
Perhaps if parts were severed, they might be able to be returned and reintegrated, perhaps?
I see.
Perhaps I should test this. I'm surprised I haven't yet.
A bit drastic.
I merely request, if you have any curiosity, in the manner that I am powered with animancy, that you do not try to take any drastic measures. I would not take kindly to any sort of permanent investigation, shall I say.
Entirely understandable. No, you can be rest assured on that. I'm a medic. I'm not going to harm you in the name of science or anything.
Good. My mentor did speak, of course, of the potential rarity of this, it may be enticing in the wrong hands. So I am glad that I am in good company with very trustworthy people like yourself, Alton.
Yeah, I can see how that could happen. But yes, no worries. I won't cause you any injury.
Good. And again, if there's anything I can do to assist, I am more than happy to help. Everyone here has been so kind to me.
Oh, of course, yes. They're a very nice crew. But yes, I have the medicine covered on this ship. But thank you for the offer.
good. It is good to be around another learned person as yourself, Medic Alton and Nerys. Thank you very much for your work. You've done a wonderful job.
You're welcome. Alton does not know how to make a brew at any given point. Am I being made fun of?
And Rue just sort of like nods and just like, you know, then stands up to their full height and just kind of like, or probably not their full height, and just kind of slouches out of where Alton's taken them. Alton would just get the vibe of like, Rue seems completely genuine in a lot of the things he says all the time.
So, Nerys, you are, at this point in time, holed away in your study. What exactly are you doing?
So Nerys is writing a few letters. He's also doing a few different calculations as per his quartermaster trade. But he's also got a couple of sheets of parchment just off to his right, where every now and then he'd sort of stop whatever he's working on and just scribble a couple of notes down, as if he's trying to like think of something while doing something else. And he does this for a couple of hours before he properly pushes everything else off to the side and starts looking through these notes. And it's less of like a letter, what he's been working on the side, and more of almost like incantations, runes, partial spell additions, and just a few like shorthand questions written just sort of in the margins. And he begins to sort of think about a spell that he's done in the past. Not for a long time, he hasn't really had any reason to use this, but he's been wanting to sort of change up a couple of the spells that he's been taught when he was first taught magic. One of those was a defensive spell that he was taught by his tutor many years ago, which was the ability to almost change time around someone to make them slower, more lethargic, so they don't move as quickly, almost like they're in the air around them as quicksand. He's used that every now and then. He wants to expand on that and change that a little bit. So he's been working on different components and different ideas on how to use that instead of affecting a creature, to just affect a small object instead. So if there was an object in motion, say for example this small bundle of parchment that Nerys picks up that's kind of wrapped up around, and he just throws it into the air and watches it fall back down and bounce on his desk. He kind of steeples his fingers a little bit and looks at it, then tries to pick it up again, sort of test the weight of it, and begin to cast slow, but just try and change it in little ways as he's kind of written down, to try and, so instead of trying to affect someone's mentality of time, he's trying to kind of alter almost like the flow of gravity in a way. And he's going to throw this item up and attempt to cast this spell. Okay.
Is this a spell that you have, or is this something you're experimenting with?
He's experimenting with something.
Okay.
He's experimenting with the slow spell, which he has, and he's used several times before. He just wants to try and use it to affect an object instead of a creature.
Okay.
So trying to, just to see. He wants to gauge whether this works or not. It will give him information.
I will say, roll me an Arcana check.
That is an 18.
An 18. So with an 18, for a moment, not for its whole descent, but you notice for a moment it seems to briefly defy gravity before resuming its descent as normal.
How interesting. And Nerys begins to write with a a very excited fervor that no one but Toad would recognize as something that only ever happens when he discovers something new. Yeah. He'll write and he'll write, and he'll be in that zone for probably about an hour before he'll,
Yeah, so the DC will be high, and you would probably be at disadvantage if trying something like this in the field. But it is possible. And the more you experiment with it, then, especially if you experiment with it out in the field, in practice, and you are successful with it, maybe we'll look into decreasing the gold cost to eventually transcribing it into your book once it is a fully developed spell.
Interesting. Well, Nerys is going to sort of just very quietly congratulate himself on that little win that he's had, and will continue writing, and then file those few little sheets of parchment in one of his drawers in a little specially marked folder that he's got. And then he will continue to study and learn and research the innumerable things that he needs to research.
So, Alton, around about lunchtime, you receive, once you have retired to your room, a visitor knocking upon your door.
Come in.
The door opens up and you see Nerys standing there. And he does have Toad up in his shoulder. And he is going to walk in and close the door. Apologize, it has been a while since we have set up a play date. I was hoping we were able to do that now, and he pulls Toad off from his shoulder and just kind of holds him in front of his chest.
Oh, yes. I think they kind of like, they get along well. I think Rat might teach Toad a couple of tricks. Let me see where they've gotten to. And you just hear a little like, squeak, squeak, and a little rat crawls up the side of a desk, and then just like pricks its ears up, seeing Toad.
Toad also does like a little happy croak and kind of shuffles a little bit. And Nerys will just sort of walk over and place Toad down on the desk next to Rat. While we are all here, I was hoping to discuss something with you from business-wise.
Mm-hmm. No biting, Rat. No, be nice. Yes, of course. What's on your mind?
I have spoken with Rue briefly.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, I would normally want to keep something like this incredibly confidential. However, you being the medical professional that you are, I believe it may be pertinent to your job. I do not believe we are in any imminent danger, just so that we are all clear.
Good.
However, I do believe there is some underlying issues with our new friend that may need to be addressed, or at least be made aware of.
Right, what kind of issues exactly? There's an interesting tone going on here. Spit it out.
No, that is the problem. I'm not very good at talking about other things that are more of a secret. I am usually the one that keeps all the secrets. I like keeping the secrets. They are very fun and very powerful things to keep.
Well, true that.
However, it is very much your job to know these sort of things. So I did not get this from Rue. I got this from other people. So they are not... so technically, I'm not spilling Rue's secrets because Rue has not told me. So therefore, that makes it right. And now Nerys is kind of just like talking out loud, but is kind of trying to justify to himself that it's okay to be talking. And this sort of goes around about for a little while. Okay. So now that we are both clear on that, there has been some issues in Rue's past. I don't know if you're aware, but the people on that island were not very big fans of Rue. The reason for that, I have found out, there has been, again, I don't know the full circumstances of this, but one thing led to another, and they believe, and I am disinclined to disagree with them, that one way or another, somebody died in Rue's care.
I see.
This does seem to weigh very heavily on Rue, which is why I am bringing it to you.
Are you telling me all this because you want me to look after Rue's mental health?
I believe you should, if you are able to, at least be aware of Rue's mental health.
Well, I can definitely see what I can do. I can ask them some questions, assess how they're doing.
As I mentioned previously, I did not get this information from Rue directly. So there may be some small backlash when you mention this. But just so you are aware.
Yes, I see. Of course. So I'll try to see what I can do to help with Rue's grief, I suppose. So this is the reason. You just wish to help Rue.
I am aware that people's pasts can affect their future. And I'm also aware that we are confined in a very small area for a very long period of time with everyone on board. There is not very many places you can go to avoid people. And if someone's past is affecting them, it may then have a flow-on effect to everyone else. So I am, of course, looking after Rue's health. I am also looking after the health of everyone on board this vessel.
I'll see what I can do. I'm not the most delicate person. You don't think Rue's a danger?
I am not sure.
I did overhear a conversation or two about Rue's magical ability. Do you know anything more about the source of it?
Only that it appears to be unstable.
Yes, it does. You can rest assured I will do my best as a medic. I will take this issue seriously.
Of course, I have no doubt that you will.
I suppose while you're here, how's your memory and everything going after that fun little island adventure?
At this shift in conversation, almost immediately, Nerys shrinks down in the couch, not to withdraw into himself, but to almost recline to a half-seated, half-lying position, and is looking up at the roof with his hands crossed on his chest and begins to just talk. It was very hard for a time. Obviously, my memory is something that I am very proud of, and having that taken away from me it's a very trying time. But thankfully, I am able to remember everything now after some rest and recovery and drinking a lot of water. And I believe that I am remembering everything correctly, and I'm making sure that I'm writing down everything that happens, so that if I do have any memory lapses, I can go back and reference everything again. But no, it was very it was a very trying time. I am studying a lot of the notes that were left behind, so maybe in the future we might be able to come up with something that can sort of simulate the effect, or maybe even reverse it, or make it a bit more potent or something. But and Nerys will catch himself again talking and kind of flick down to Alton again. But that is not important. What is important is we are both okay now, I guess.
Yes, no, that is good. I'm very glad everyone came out of that fairly unscathed. I couldn't leave these two all on their lonesome. How would they cope?
No, absolutely. They would not cope at all. I don't know what Toad would do. I think he doesn't know much outside of this boat. He would probably just mutiny and take over.
Yeah, I can picture him doing that quite well. But no, thank you for bringing this all to my attention. I'll get it sorted.
Of course. Nerys will kind of sit himself back up again and brush himself off and straighten up his jacket that he's wearing. Right, well, thank you for your time. Again, if you need anything, do let me know. We will be coming into port in the next few days. So if I'll be sorting out requisitions on the first couple of days, I believe. So
I'll get that sorted.
Absolutely. Well, I hope you have enjoyed today's weather, and I will see you later.
Coming into the next day, so what Fishman would have done the day prior is retired to his own quarters. Fishman will sit down in the middle of his cabin and get into like a meditative stance almost, and he will run his hand around where he's sitting, almost as if a perfect circle, and then he'll bring it all the way around back to where he started from, and then he will put his right arm out as if facing straight towards him. He'll close his eyes and he'll focus using a certain feature that he has. Does he get any kind of response from this? Does his arm point in a certain direction, or does he feel anything?
He does. There is a pull. It is back in the opposite direction to where you're going.
Cool. All right. I didn't expect it to happen the first time. It happened on pod. Okay, cool. All right. Fishman will leave his quarters after finding out about this, and he might go... He probably trusts Rue a little bit more than 𝗔𝗦𝗧. He wants to speak to both, but he would probably approach Rue first.
Rue, where would the Fishman find you?
Rue has the use of one of the guest quarters, which is near the kitchen. You kind of like start to sort of like investigate. You see like a little trail of broken porcelain or something like that, and then you kind of just see a large metal shape just kind of just plunked, kind of like filling up almost nearly the entire hallway, just with like a little pointed metal snout, just kind of crunching on what looks like a plate. And then as you kind of notice, Ham eating something.
Darby, please -1 plate from our inventory and add more plate fragments.
And after Fishman kind of notices this, he'd say just beyond where Ham is making little noises to itself. It looks like Rue seems to be kind of like just hunched down a bit. No lights coming up from their sort of mask. Just this big dark shape, just hunched over a little bit.
All right. Well, Fishman will kind of cautiously walk into the room. Again, still in awe of Ham, because Ham is huge and like something he's never seen before.
No, probably not. Not in this situation either. Like, even if you heard the lets, it'd be they leap out of the ground and they eat you. That's it.
So Fishman will probably again, approach cautiously, maybe with like one hand out towards Ham, but like slowly and confidently, yet cautiously approaching.
Ham's little beady eyes kind of like snap up to look like meet Fishman's. As he pauses eating the plate.
The overall gesture he's trying to give off is like friend, non-threatening.
Yeah, and Ham kind of like crouches down a little bit like a cat, little back leg wiggle, but then just stills a bit and just keeps like observing you, and then he makes like little scratching movements as if he's like trying to like dig a little hole, but it just along the wooden paneling of the floor, but and then just crouches down and just observes.
Fishman will get as close as he can that he perceives as comfortable. Essentially, he's using, I guess you can say, animal handling. I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know.
Roll for animal handling.
Oh god. He rolled a 2. So that is a total of 10.
Oh.
Yeah, okay, he'll back off then. If he's about to leave, then yeah, he'll definitely back off. And he'll probably pull out his notebook and start flicking through pages. But then puts the notebook back disappointedly. And will kind of casually, nonchalantly, not necessarily yell, but just calmly say, "So, what creature is Ham?"
You hear like a ray of sudden like clicking magical sound, little hisses and stuff like that, and then like as Rue sort of like straightens up, and the light behind the mask where the eyes are like shuts on and is immediately red, and then shuts off like a slide has gone over it to sort of the blue white that Rue's eyes normally are.
Oh, Fishman, was it?
That's the name everyone gives me, I guess.
Ham, yes. Ham is a bullet. You're being a good boy, aren't you? He did not try to eat you, I assume?
I've dealt with many creatures, mainly those who live under the sea, but I've never seen a owlet, did you say?
Oh, he is a bullet.
Bullet.
Yes, I believe there are many different dialects. But that is the one that they speak on Acheron.
So is he not a beast? Is he of this world?
I believe he's of this world. I regrettably haven't had a chance to study too much of any other examples of his species, although I have read in books that apparently, normally, he is kind of much larger.
Larger than this. Right.
Rue kind of just like looks to Fishman and stretches his arms out as well.
At least this big, probably, from what I've read. I'm sure if you work at it, he'll grow to like you and be a good friend, as he is to me. I reared him, of course, so I have an advantage, I suppose.
I have my contacts with a few of the chefs on this vessel.
Oh.
Mayhaps I could procure some food another time, but for now, I'm actually here to see you, Rue.
To see me? Why do you wish to speak with me?
And Rue will like move closer beyond Ham and closer, stepping closer to look down at Fishman. Well, not that far down. They're pretty. Fishman's also quite tall.
Do not take offense to this, but you are strange.
I try to be. Well, I don't really. I try to be very approachable, but it doesn't quite work. It's very vexing. I'm trying my best, you understand?
I understand. You have a very friendly personality, but your appearance and your demeanor is mysterious and ominous.
Is it the mask?
The mask doesn't help.
I would be afraid that my real face would make it worse.
Perhaps this is just what I have experienced in the past, but doctors can be quite scary, and your mask reminds me of doctors.
Oh, true. That's right. Well, don't worry. I've heard that if you are afraid of a doctor, having an apple will assuage your fears, so I would always recommend carrying one on you. I'm not afraid of them, of course, but I'm not afraid of many things, so that would be strange. But maybe that will calm you. I find apples very calming. Perhaps it will do the same for you.
I would like to know you a little bit better, Rue.
Really?
If the captain trusts you, then I trust you.
He appears
And the captain
to.
seems to very much trust you.
Yes. He does not know me very well, but he appears to be quite trusting of everyone. Was he the same with you?
Yes?
You seem very sure of yourself, Mr. Fishman. It's a great trait to have.
I've done many great things. I'm proud of who I am today. But enough about me. I know me. I don't know you.
What can I do? What question would you like answered? I'm more than happy to answer. Many don't seem to... Well, I suppose you've answered that for me. The doctor appearance. Perhaps I will have to have an apple as a peace offering.
It wouldn't be bad. That may just help.
Okay, invest in apples. Thank you. This has been invaluable. I do so hope to become more well acquainted with your crew while I am here as a friend of the captain. I do not wish to make anyone uncomfortable, of course.
I don't believe you'd make anyone uncomfortable. It's just...
Good.
You are a new addition to our crew. And
Yes.
when you are on our ship, the captain will treat you with hospitality. But it's then up to you whether or not you deserve that hospitality. And thus far, you seem trustworthy. The captain can, at times, be... I don't quite know the word for it, but they can invite people who should not be invited on the boat. There's been a recent example of that, unfortunately. The captain is very trusting, but the captain is also wise and knowledgeable.
I see.
Trust, or at least most of us trust the captain. I
Yes.
myself believe everything the captain does is just. However, it can at times be the detriment of our crew. Look, I'm going to be a little bit more direct.
Please.
Those villagers seemed... It's not that they feared you, but they feared perhaps something that you have done or will do. Why did they show such disgust when you tried only to help them, to assist them, give them shelter? They were still adamant at warning us about you, and I want to know why.
It is one of these talks, then, I see.
And Rue sort of tilts their head to one side, and the brightness of their eyes sort of dims a little bit, and sort of just like the intensity of the colour sort of flickers a little bit briefly.
I don't mean to cause offense. I have no reason to distrust you. As far as I'm aware, you've helped us with our cause. You've given so much to these people and us as well, strangers.
Yes, I want to help.
And yet they almost despise you.
I think your observation is correct, Mr. Fishman. What I shall say on my behalf, I suppose, there were rumors on the island that people I was close to who disappeared. I do not always use my magic as much as I used on the island against those monsters. Sometimes things go wrong. I do not wish ill upon anyone, and I am still trying to gauge how to be better, I suppose, on how to deal with people's feelings and how to help them. I do really want to help people, but
But why? They cuss you, they dismiss you, they don't value your efforts. Why do you help them when they clearly show no respect for what you're trying to achieve?
I'm a very lonely person. And I've been alone for a long time. And I find it very difficult to make friends. And if I can't be friends, then at least I'd like to be helpful.
He'll turn again to Ham. It seems you have made a friend, perhaps a lifetime friend.
Yes. I reared Ham from an egg. I found it on a deep part of the ocean when I woke up after a terrible day in my life. And I suppose much like me, after time, he hatched. And although Ham, and perhaps his kind of viewed as more dangerous sometimes or unpredictable, he's a good friend, and I'm sure in time he will grow accustomed to you as well. As long as I remain on the ship anyway.
You mentioned from an egg that you
Yes.
found Ham. What?
Yes.
And again, I do apologize. I have never met one of your people.
No,
How do you...
I've never met someone like you.
Would Ham see you as a mother figure, a father figure? What? How do you
I don't know.
go by?
Oh.
Perhaps
I
that of
prefer
just a parental figure.
father or parental figure. Well, I suppose mother is fine as well. Father or parental figure. I haven't
I'm sure
thought
that
about it.
if you were to just mysteriously disappear, I'm sure Ham would not be too happy.
I hope not. That does sound
And-
somewhat ominous, I will say, Mr. Fishman.
I'm sorry, I mean it in jest. I would
I
not be
do
aboard this
too.
vessel if that were to happen.
Of course. I
believe he's-
appreciate you asking this.
He's gotten perhaps a liking to me, but not in the way that I'd want.
No, he may still like the taste of you, perhaps, but I'm sure in time he will wean off this.
But anyways, beside the point, sorry, I am getting
I
sidetracked.
apologize. Yes.
Don't apologize. Stop. Don't apologize for just existing. I don't see the point in that. I've seen you do nothing but good things.
Rue just kind of looks very like the lights behind their eyes sort of dim a lot. They kind of like turn their head down to look more directly at Fishman, but doesn't say anything. Yeah.
So I came to you because I have a question for you. I notice you use magic.
I do.
And you've mentioned you use magic.
Yes.
Of what form is this magic? What would you categorize it as? Because I'll be honest, I've never seen something quite like it before.
I don't know if you heard or if you have heard the term before, but the professor or the archaeologist that is also staying aboard the ship told me an Anamdal. He's a studier of anomancy. It is a particular kind of magic. It is present upon the Isles. I do not know a great deal about it.
Do you
But
speak
that
of
is-
Eldrin?
Yes, 𝗖𝗔𝗦𝗧, the explorer and stranger to the island. He.
That is the reason we came to this island.
I see.
And whilst I do wish to speak with him, I would much prefer to speak with you first, in case you happen to know anything of the island. You mentioned you've been alone for some time. I
Yes.
imagine you can't get away from that island, especially with Ham.
No.
How long have you spent on that island?
I have been awake on this island for 18... Well, I've been present for 18 years, awake for 15. There was a rift that woke me.
A rift?
Yes. I do not know if I am tied to that, There was a god, I believe it was called 𝗖𝗔𝗦𝗧 or something like that does not exist anymore. Or not on this plane, anyway.
I believe I've made a great decision speaking with you first. Not of this plane, you say?
Yes.
Of which plane are they of?
I do not recall. It is difficult, of course. This was more something that happened across the seas in Durham, I believe it was. But
Darby, does Fishman have any record of 𝗖𝗔?
Roll me a
Good
history
old
check.
ZT.
Good old ZT, yeah.
That's an excellent. What am I doing? No, I said physical. Okay. That is a 5.
Fishman!
I just add, like, by default went
Does
to
he get
D&D Beyond, and
advantage?
that was
Does
a
he get
mistake.
advantage?
I'll happily roll with a physical die the next time.
Do you have inspiration?
I used it on something dumb. I can't remember what it was, but it was
Best
something
thing
dumb.
to use inspiration on.
That's true.
I usually hoard inspiration, so I'm going to make more of an effort to just use it almost straight away. So
It's a good idea.
like, yeah, I it wasn't good hoarding it. Like, it's not good.
Yeah, no, it's you like.
With a 5, surely that's
have you?
3 more than 2. That's
Well, here's a question: How long has Fishman been on Fierlor? Has he been around on Fierlor long enough to have been around at the time?
he is. Hang on, let me have a quick look. He's still quite young by his species standards. He would have entered Fierlor still quite juvenile, but probably maybe 30 years.
30 years. So
Max. That's max.
So it's been 15 years.
yeah.
So like,
So you're vaguely aware of like there was something there was some major planar event that you were aware of.
Don't give me too much though, because it was a 5.
Yeah.
5 out of 20.
Like just the nature of who you are.
Sorry, 5 out of 19.
There was a major planar event that you were aware of 15 years ago. You never were made aware of like the cause of the event though.
is there a particular reason it interests you so?
I have my reasons.
Of course.
I hear of tales that
Tales.
there was a major event. I wasn't sure where. But you mentioned Dora,
Yes.
and you mentioned planar.
Yes.
Perhaps this could be very useful to me, actually.
Oh, good. What more can I tell you?
He'll probably take a pause there, and he will open up his notebook and start writing down a whole bunch of stuff.
Rue just watches him without comment.
What do you know of this 𝗖𝗔𝗦𝗧?
I admit I don't know a great deal, unfortunately. I just know of the tales that, it was about 15 years ago. It was a chaos god or something like that, perhaps a demigod, maybe. And it tore holes in different planes. And upon our island, we were unlucky enough to be near one, I suppose. I awoke while the entire island was under attack. And that's when...
Laura, can you please roll an insight check?
Yes, please. I'd love to.
And he will do... If he's trying to, like, hide emotion, Darby, is that a performance or a deception?
If it's deliberately hiding emotion, that is deception.
Deception, alright. 14?
19.
All right, you see like him struggling to hide a massive grin
Oh,
and failing. Classic Fishman.
Poor Fishman. That's probably the best roll he's had all night too.
No, you got an 18 earlier
Oh,
with
true.
with the card.
There we go.
betting.
There we go.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or to come. Spoiler alert, depending on when it's spliced.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, you see Fishman like hiding, like, or failing to hide a massive grin. You can tell he's getting like quite a bit of kind of enjoyment out of this.
May I ask why you are so curious? What are your goals?
I have been in Fierlor for a very long time. And I have been looking for something. And I have failed for a very long time. And you are probably the closest I've gotten to finding this thing.
How
You've
can I
probably
help you?
noticed I'm quite excited about this.
You are.
This is... I've not heard of this before. And this, I believe, could be exactly what I'm looking for.
How can I help you further then?
I've taken maps of the island. And he'll bring out charts. The charts that he wrote during his scouting and during his adventures on the island with the party. What do you remember? What was your first memory of the island? You mentioned perhaps 𝗖𝗔𝗦𝗧 awakened you said? And you mentioned that this could be due to a rift, extraplanar. This could be exactly what I'm after. What do you remember location-wise? Any landmarks, any details, any feelings?
Oh, right. I picture, well, Darby, I'll let you fill in on some of that. I picture it being like on the beach or something like that. I do know Rue was stationed at Ezzet's house for 2 years because he thought it was a statue. She'll give everyone for free. Yeah, like there would have been like a sky opened up, or like a rift, a tear opened up over there. What sort of creatures came out? I can't remember.
Yeah. I think I can't remember whether I've told you something specific, but
Yeah.
I'm happy to take a pause or a break in the recording if you wanted to
But-
like message each other.
if I haven't, then it probably would have been incorporeal undead, like ghosts and stuff from
Oh, that's
Because of-
interesting.
because of the
No comment.
the connection to animancy in the area.
There were a lot of spirits. It was an interesting experience. Mostly incorporeal creatures. It was difficult to fight back, but my magic assisted with it, I suppose. I believe it was a large surge of the sort of magic that I hold at my core, I suppose you could say. There was flashes, perhaps, of a tear above the beach where your boat docked after you sailed here from the ship. That is what I can remember. All filled with animancy. I do not know whether it is the tie to that sort of magic that woke me, as I appear to be comprised largely of it, or whether it was the cause. I would hope not the latter.
Did Rue mention anything about like undead or anything like that?
Yeah, like spirits, like undead. Yeah, spirits.
Perhaps this is not what I'm after. Undead is not typical of what I'm after.
What are you after?
No disrespect, but I'd like to keep that private.
I understand. I won't press further.
But thank you. I do appreciate what you've told me today. It's helped quite a good deal, but I think I need to think on this.
My apologies that I cannot be of more assistance.
And one other favor, please.
Yes.
And I'm sorry to say this. And it's quite funny that I say I'm sorry to say this.
Yes.
Please stop saying sorry when it is not your fault.
I will try to work on that. I will stop saying sorry as much as I possibly can.
Perhaps instead of sorry, perhaps go with this apple idea you had.
Shall I give them an apple instead of saying sorry?
I believe that's a good start.
Okay, I'll have to obtain some apples.
I'm sure we have some in storage.
What a good idea. I will have to take a leisurely walk into the storage. And then this will be good. Improve my standing with the ship. And make people less afraid of me and more willing to talk so I can help them with their issues. And also stop saying sorry. Thank you very much, Fishman. This has been enlightening. I'm Apple that I could not assist you more on your own journey.
Sorry. I was not expecting that. Fishman will laugh.
The light behind their sort of like eyeglasses just like flicker, like bright sort of like green perhaps when they try to say this, like their whole like physicality is like very chipper, like yes.
Fishman will, whilst he's laughing, open up his notebook and do some scribbles in his notes, and will tear out some pages. Let's go 3 pages, and on each page there is a drawing of an apple. Until you find some apples, real apples, give these to people. I'm sure it would make a little bit more sense than just saying apple in the place of sorry.
That's a wonderful idea. I appreciate that, and very well drawn too. You really do. I can understand why you're so confident now.
It's good to be confident. It's good to believe in yourself, and I would encourage you to do it more.
Good.
Ham seems to believe in himself quite well.
Oh, that's understandable. Ham is very handsome and a good friend and a great conversationalist. Yes, handsome. My father figure used to think that was hilarious.
Your father figure?
Yes, is it? He is.
So the father figure has a father figure.
How profound! You're right.
And is this father figure this 𝗖𝗔𝗦𝗧 you spoke of?
I would certainly hope not. No, as it was a bird, Niento like the others on the island. But he left on a boat with a wolf on the flag and did not return for 3 years. So now I'm going to find him and perhaps explore a bit more of the world. I'll have to start with finding an apple tree. You must excuse me, Mr. Fishman. I have someone I need you to deliver this to immediately.
Be on your way then. You don't have to ask. You can just go.
Oh, of course not.
but I will probably leave before you, given the conversation we've had about Ham in your absence. I don't want to be in a room alone with Ham when you're not here. Okay, goodbye, good day.
Have a good day.
And he will just like quickly scuffle out of the room. Once he is out of the room, though, he will write in some more notes. One of which is to speak to the captain post haste regarding.
It's fine. It's cool. It's fine.
Yeah.
And later that in about 5 minutes' time, Nerys finds a little piece of paper slid under his door in an incredibly creepy fashion, with like a couple of like long sort of little black fingers sort of like sliding it under the crack there, and then just the patter of like a very large figure bounding off, and it's a little piece that's one of the apples.
Amazing.
All right.
Yeah, cool. Fishman will not speak with Eldrin.
Yeah.
He believes he's got all the answers he needed from Rue.
Okay.
And yeah, he'd probably retire for that night.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm not sure when you'd splice this in, but I like to imagine this is before the card betting. I mentioned retiring to his quarters. Little did he know this would be the last of his retirement funds that he will be enjoying, but he will lose them all.